It takes a lot to surprise me now when it comes to gold prospecting gear. It seems like every man and his dog has literally tried to reinvent the circle. Different riffle designs, colors, shapes, and methods in which you use the pans have all been tried, and most of them, well, they work. It's very hard to walk away from a regular gold pan like this because these are so versatile. So it came as a bit of a shock to find out that the pan that I had major reservations about is phenomenally good. I'm talking about this, the Gold Claw production pan. I spent the last 8 hours out with this pan and it has blown my mind as to just how good it actually is. And I don't get to say that about a lot of products. I got a little bit of history with Gold Claw. Their pocket pan, I personally think, is one of the coolest little pans you can get hold of. Their mid-sized pan, I don't like. And it pains me to say that because the inventor, Clint, has always been a gentleman and a scholar to me. So when I spent 100 Australian dollar dues on this pan, I was coming in it with a mixed feeling. I want to get this clear. This is not a review. I'm literally just going to give you what I've discovered about it and why you might be seeing me use this in certain situations over a sluice box. But first, I need a regular pan. The gravel in the bank there is going about 25 specs per pan, and we've got this old log in the water, and that seems to be concentrating it. Great if blackberries weren't poking me in the arse cheek. I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with the Garrett Super Sluice too, because the riffle design is interesting, but if you don't use the right technique with it, it's very easy to lose gold. I actually created a full video about this that I've linked in the description below. But it does hold 2 shovels of dirt, and that's about the standard amount of dirt that most pans can hold. Somewhere between 1 and 2 shovels. Somewhere between 1 and 2 shovels is actually 1.5 shovels on average. Look at me. Go maths. Ooh, mama. In just a few pans, we're going to get a lot of gold. I literally saved this spot for this test. I knew there was good gold here a week ago. And now it's time to cash in. My memory bank served me correctly. There was really good gold in this spot, and that is exactly what we've got. Fantastic gold. We've got specks all through the black sand, and we've got a lot of them. I'm going to guess it's 100 a pan, and they're nice and flaky for this area. Warning, you're about to meet Sciencey Chris. Involved Boffin Chris, the type of Chris that isn't funny and is a little bit more serious. There are 2 ways you can increase efficiency as a hobby prospector. Processing dirt faster or reducing the amount you need to dig. An average pan can take 2 shovels. The Gold Claw can take 4. That means that you've automatically doubled the amount of dirt you can work. So you've halved the amount of digging you need to do. So you save time on digging, but does it save time on processing? Just look at how much dirt this thing can really hold. That is 4 full shovels of dirt. I'm gonna have the biggest man muscles by the end of this. In order for this to be worth it, I have to be able to process the dirt faster than what I could through a standard pan. It takes me 1.5 minutes to do a single 2 shovel pan. So I have a maximum of 3 minutes to process this entire pan of dirt. 2 minutes and 4 seconds. 2 minutes and 4 seconds to process twice as much dirt. So we're moving twice as much dirt with half as much digging. If I went to the creek with a regular pan, which I did in this spot just a couple of days ago, in a 4-hour session, I was able to process 400 liters of dirt. If I use this pan, I could do 800 to 1,000 in the same time frame. Literally doubling my production. What about loss? I know that's the big one for everyone, and it was for me too. 100% of gold prospecting equipment that you've ever seen used loses some gold. It's inevitable. The question really is, what loss rate is acceptable? And I generally think anything that's less than 5% is pretty good. The pocket pan and the mid-sized pan are really difficult to reveal gold in, but this is actually pretty easy. It's not much different to a regular pan. Got a clean gold pan here, and I'm just going to sink it right there. I'd already carried out over 8 hours of previous testing before filming this video, and I was aiming to replicate the results I got during that learning process. In order to test the fairness between this pan and a regular pan, I put the same amount of dirt I would put into a regular pan, being only 2 shovels instead of the 4 I showed previously. I'm going to do exactly what I just did into that other pan, and then we're going to pan out the tailings and see what kind of gold we lost. As with every other piece of alluvial gold prospecting equipment, the breaking down of clay and silts is key, and I spent a little bit of extra time ensuring I did that, given I had more of that clay in my pan this time round than I did the first time. This didn't impact the overall time it took me to do one pan, any more than it would have using a regular pan. About the same time frame. It took me a little bit longer because I had more clay in there, but the gold is looking really good. We've got heaps of fine gold all through our cons there, and we're dealing with about the same amount of cons as we were out of a regular pan or from our last pan. Let's see how much it dropped. It will have dropped some, but I don't think it's going to be too much. This is actually phenomenal. We've got about 100 specks of gold in this pan, and we're dealing with cassiterite, which is a non-magnetic black sand. It's extremely dense and hard for gold to sink through. And out of the tailings, we lost a very small amount of black sand, which is what you would expect, and only 2 flakes of gold. Now think about that ratio. We lost 2, we gained 100, and we moved twice as much dirt in half the time. I am blown away. This is everything I wanted the mid-sized pan from Gold Claw to be. It just took a little bit longer to get the design right. This happens with all inventions. It's not until you get it into the general public's hands that often people are able to play around with it and come up with ideas that you may not have thought about. Both of these pans have exactly the same problem due to their riffle design. Deep riffles like this require extra energy in the water to move material out of them, and that's what gold prospecting is about. Reduction of material through density. We have deep riffles on this pan. In the manufacturer's instructions, it says to use a side-to-side motion as you tip forward to keep all the material liquefied, and that way the light material through stratification will come to the top and fall out the front. A lot of people use the same exact method with this pan because the riffles are so deep it's easier to use a side-to-side motion to get the dirt to walk over them and fall out of the pan. The problem with that is if you use a side-to-side motion, your energy output is going forward, and that means that the gold can walk up that riffle into the next one and then out of your pan, and you'll never even know. If you use the side-to-side technique with this pan, that's exactly what will happen. Your losses will go through the roof because the momentum will lift the gold out of the riffles and out of the pan. So the trick is to use a front-back motion like this. Use a front-back motion until you get it to a 45-degree angle. Then you use short, sharp, little shakes to keep everything fluid as you rapidly tip forward. It's kind of counterintuitive, and it took me a little while to work out. But if you use a front and back, it concentrates all of your gold and black sand in these back riffles, and the rapid tipping forward is literally only tipping off the light stuff that's been stratified. And you already saw the test results for how much we lost. Right, with all of our heads filled with that much information, time to get back to panning and fighting blackberries. I'm still blown away with how effective this pan is at shifting dirt and catching gold, especially considering that the mid-sized pan that I was expecting it to operate like didn't work so well when I tested it all those years ago. But for all intents and purposes, I had no significant loss out of this pan as long as I used the method I described earlier, and I was reaping the rewards with how much gold I was able to recover. This spot was decently rich for Reedy Creek, and given that I couldn't use a sluice box in this area because there was no drop off, being able to process the amount of dirt that I was moving with this pan gave me a huge advantage. It is so counterintuitive using this pan. If you don't tip forward rapidly enough while you're shaking it side to side, that's when the gold will walk out of your pan. Which is the opposite to what we would do in a normal pan. Usually more shaking is good. Do as much shaking as you can while you're stratifying and get everything into that bottom riffle. But when you finally go to do that motion, don't be doing this. That's how you're going to lose it. I keep checking to see if I'm losing gold, and I'm not. It's just so weird being like, and yeah. Side to side and tip. Now I would argue that if you don't have flowing water, the toss up between using this and using a sluice box is about the same consideration. It will move about the same amount of dirt in the same amount of time, according to my creek maths. Old panning habits die hard too. I'm still going to pan this part off normally. But if I didn't have flowing water and I wanted to process volume, between the potato pan and this, I think we could shift some serious dirt. I don't think it's going to replace my daily pan, but for processing power, it's up there.
And that's just it. Horses for courses. This isn't a pan that I would use for prospecting as much as I would use it to move the dirt once I'd found the deposit. And man, I'd found a good deposit.
The boss has arrived and he brought his mate along. And if there's one thing that Zach is going to tell you about this pan is that it does have a problem. The gold fever that you can get with this is going to be unreal because the sheer amount of gold in every pan is pretty good. The other problem with this pan is it's massive. And like, I'm used to using the potato pan, which can hold 5 or 6 shovels of dirt. And I can only use that motherfucker for like maybe an hour and a half before I'm cooked. So Mick's going to be able to go all day using that pan. But you're really going to have to cherry pick how many of these you're going to want to do.
So with that in mind, I returned to the gym and set about developing huge shoulder muscles and collecting more gold to get the steroids I'd need to use this pan even more.
I actually think this cleanout is going to be really good. I reckon we've probably got 1 gram of gold at least so far. Every single one of my pans is giving me spicy gold just like that. Gonna have to take this home to clean it up properly, but this is the majority of the concentrates that I've collected so far, and we have got gold all through it.
And if I'm being honest, it had been a very hard start to the year in terms of gold takes. For a number of reasons, it was getting harder to find decent deposits where I was working, so it was good to see this kind of colour in the pan. You can now come visit the Old Mouldy in real life at Shop 261 Ford Street, Beechworth, where we sell prospecting equipment and talk a lot of crap. We also have gold, paydirt, gemstones, crystals, and much more up on the oldmouldy.com.au, where you can pan gold yourself at home in your underwear on your couch, which, let's be honest, is a hell of a way to pan for gold. In the meantime, this is the gold I managed to recover using the gold claw pan. It's never the equipment that gives you good gold, it's the deposit, and this deposit was a cracker. We've got a heap of that beautiful glacial alluvial gold out of Reedy Creek. I'm just happy to see a decent amount of gold for my efforts. Thought it would be appropriate to use the pocket pan to pour the gold today. I'm hoping we get over 1 gram of gold because that means we will have recovered more than the cost of the pan. So let's say 1.3 grams. Leave your guess in the description below. We'll see how we go. 0.1, 0.2, 0.4, 0.5, 0.7, 0.8. Oh, we're well over the cost. 1 gram. So 1 gram at the moment is 165 Australian dollars. So we've made $65 more than what that pan cost me. And on top of that, 1.24 grams of gold. At today's gold prices, that's worth almost exactly 200 Australian dollars, meaning I doubled the cost of my pan. That doesn't happen all the time, but I'm very glad it happened in this instance. Like every piece of equipment, this pan will be for certain types of people doing certain types of prospecting. But it's definitely something that I think everyone should give a crack at some point because it is very interesting to use.